Now Philip and I made our annual trip to the apple orchard to get our apples for the year, and the prices were so great that I bought way too many. Now one of the reasons I got way too many was because I plan to make apple cider in our new cider press. Hey friends, it's Barbara Sue at Kowalski Mountain and welcome back to the homestead. Now we were super blessed this year that a friend of ours gave us a new to us apple press. Now it needed a little bit of work. It was missing a leg, so Philip crafted a new leg for it, but it's ready for us to make apple cider. Now I bought about 75 pounds of apples and I've been making apple everything. Applesauce, spiced apples, apple filling. What else did I make? Oh, apple jelly. And now I need to make the apple cider. Now I am going to can my apple juice, so it won't technically be cider anymore because it will be heated, but canning it is the only way that I can make it shelf stable so it'll last all year long because I do not have room for juice in my freezer. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up so we can make some apple cider. Now I want to put that in a safe place. Now this is the top piece and it has two parts. There's the part for the apples and then this kind of keeps it all together. So we just need to give this a good clean. You know, the weather today is in this weird spot. So when I came out, I think I saw it was about 59 degrees. So I put on my jacket and then I got hot because I was moving around and I was working. So I took it off and I'm a little bit cool. Alright, now I've got this all cleaned up. I'm going to let it dry really good and I'm going to oil it up, and probably tomorrow we're going to make some apple cider. Alright friends, it's actually a couple days later and I'm finally getting back to the apple cider. Now I've actually already gotten started because I have a lot of apples. So far I have cut up 2 pecks of apples, which is half a bushel, and I still have at least that much left to do. Now today I am using Fuji apples. Fuji apples are super sweet. They're one of the sweetest apples, and when I asked at the orchard what the best, sweetest apple for juice was, they said Fuji. Now most cider makers just mix all the apples. They take all of the culls, all of the seconds, and they make cider with it. Now I actually use seconds as well. So seconds are apples that are damaged in some way. Like it has a little bit of insect damage. It got damaged a little bit. This apple, I've had a hard time figuring out why it's a second. It might be because it's got a little bruising. The Japanese beetles have invaded us. It's bad. When you go outside, they bite you. It's terrible. Anyway, this apple, I think maybe this little bruise is why. This is a perfect apple. This one's actually not going into the cider. This one is going to be lunch. But all of these apples, maybe they're a little bit too small. Maybe they have some damage of something that makes them not a first grade apple. Now, I actually bought apples at 2 different orchards. That's why I have the big size difference. These are from the orchard that we normally buy apples from. Even though these are seconds, these were much more expensive. They were $18.95 for a 1/2 bushel. These I bought at a different orchard. These apples are much smaller, but honestly they've been much easier to work with. They were only $6.95 for a 1/2 bushel, and I think we got more apples. So I don't mind that they're small. I'm just making juice anyway. Now, using seconds, or what some farms call culls, is a great way to save money. Even on that more expensive apples I bought, I still saved a ton of money on what they charge for their first grade apples. Now, I always use seconds for my applesauce and honestly most of my canning projects. The one warning I will give you about using seconds or culls, be prepared to use them. Don't buy them, put them to the side, and forget that you have apples to deal with. Because they're already bruised, because they already have some type of damage, you need to process them right away. So keep that in mind when you get excited at the orchard about how much you buy. I've had these apples maybe a week, so I have sat on them a little while, which is fine. You just don't want to put them away into cold storage and not use them. Now, I am going to tell you that I am doing an extra step. Normally, when you make cider, you would not need to core these apples, but I am. I'm not skinning them, but I am coring them. And the reason is because I want to use the pulp. Now, we love fruit leather, and I will be honest, this is the first time I'm using my cider press. You know, there is a theme here that I always do everything for the very first time on YouTube. While I have never used that cider press before, I have made fruit leather with the leftover pulp from juicing projects. Last year, I made juice using my steam juicer, which I love my steam juicer. And it made wonderful fruit leather because you've already removed part of the juice, which makes the dehydration process even faster. So that's why I'm going to this extra step of coring these apples, because I want to use the pulp for something else. Now, here in my big pot, I do have it filled with water and a little bit of ascorbic acid, just so my apples don't turn brown, which is probably not really a worry. But I am doing laundry today, so I am having to stop frequently, go up and down the hill, and it takes me away from my project. So that's why I'm keeping the apples in the water until I'm actually ready to start making the cider. Now, what you would normally do, from what I've researched, when you're making apple cider like this, you would still want to crush up the apples before you start. It just helps release the juices a little bit easier. I actually saw a video where a guy used a trash disposal. Now, it wasn't the one installed in his sink. He bought a brand new one specifically for this purpose, that he could run the apples through the garbage disposal so it would shred them up, and then he could make cider with them. Now, I thought that was a little crazy, but whatever works. Now, unfortunately, we are making apple cider in the RV, which is not what I wanted to do at all. I wanted to do it outside. It's gorgeous outside today, actually. But if I try to do anything like this outside, the yellow jackets are all over me. And I actually got stung that day that you saw me. Shortly after that video was done, actually, because I touched one that was on something I picked up. So for that reason, we are making our cider inside. So here's a really good example of a cold apple. Now, this has been sitting for about a week, like I said, so we're just going to cut that off. And it actually permeates pretty far through. And that apple is actually a loss. That's the first one I found in all of the apples that I have done through everything. I did applesauce, spiced apples, apple pie filling, apple jelly, and now cider. That is the first bad apple I found in all of the apples I bought, which I bought way too many, and that's okay. All right, I'm almost finished with these apples. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna knock it out. We're gonna be right back. I did want to tell you what I'm gonna do with all of my waste. So this is all the cores and bad spots and that kind of stuff. It is actually hunting season here in Kentucky. Archery season is open, and by the time I post this video, it will be rifle season. So Philip will actually take this to the woods, dump it in the woods, and let the wild deer find that and have a little treat, and maybe put some venison on our table. All right, friends. I so wish I was doing this outside, but let me tell you, it is a good thing I am not doing it outside, because the yellow jackets have even found me in here. I've killed about 6 in here, and you know, I might let them go their own way outside, not mess with them, but in here, game over. All right, so let's go ahead and get this put together. So I've got my base. I have my straining portion, and then I have the, I don't know what this part is. And this fits in here really, really nicely. Super happy with that. Now here's my crushing piece, and I'm not going to put that on yet. I'm going to put some apples in it. Now I ended up with an entire pot of apples. This is completely full. It's kind of pretty. Now you have no idea how much I wish we were doing this outside. It would be so much easier outside. So first I'm going to drain out the apples just to try to get most of the water out, and then I'm going to add this. To my cider press. Alright, sorry, I know that's a terrible angle, but I want you to see this, and I want you to see me, and this is an RV. It's not a very big space. So this is going to go here. Fits perfect. And if you remember, this had the nut. You know, I was really worried I wasn't going to be able to turn this, and I mean, I am turning it, but it's still really hard. Now keep in mind, I have juiced apples before, so I know that there's going to be a lot more waste than we think, which is why I wanted to do the fruit leather, because it takes a lot of apples to make juice. Now I'm kind of bracing this with my foot. I know you can't see that very good. might need help. Well, that alarm was my laundry, so I gotta go do that. And I'll be right back. Now, sometimes it's a good idea to walk away from a problem because I thought of a solution. I filled this all the way up with apples, and I have squeezed it down almost halfway. You know, because I'm stronger than I look. I really am. But I can't squeeze it anymore, so I'm going to put less apples in it and see if I can do better. Well, you know, the steam juicer's looking better and better. Well, I have decided to go ahead and use the steam juicer. Philip did come in and he did work with me, and while he can press it a little bit more than me, not enough to really juice the apples. So we're going to steam juice them, and we're going to juice them that way, because that's what we're going to do. Now I peeked in here and there's actually already quite a bit of juice, so I'm going to use my little, my little funnel. Now, some people, when they're steam juicing, they actually juice right into the jars, but I don't like to do that. I like to put it all into a pot so that it gets all mixed, so you don't have some super sweet juice and then some not so sweet juice. It'll be evenly sweet. So this is actually going pretty fast, which is good because since I've cut all those apples, this has to be done tonight. So I'm really sorry I'm doing this in the dark. But you know it's not that late. It's just a little after 5. Welcome to standard daylight. Now the really nice thing, because it is dark, the yellow jackets have gone to bed. Well, it is day 3 of cider making, and I thought this would be done by now. Just to catch you up, I juiced apples until about 9 o'clock last night when I was finally done running everything through the steam juicer, which that actually goes pretty fast. Now after that, I ran all of the pulp through my food processor, and I only have a little tiny Black & Decker food processor. It probably does a cup and a half at a time, and I got 4, well, I shouldn't say that. The dehydrator is full, and this was running all night. And then I have 4 pints of, I'm going to call it applesauce, that I pureed from all of the apples that went through the juicer. And I don't know that I like the skins in it. And that food processor, it's just a tiny little Black & Decker one. It's a tiny little thing. And I mean, it's powerful, but it's not like a real food processor, you know, that really gets the job done. But I have 4 more quarts of this to dehydrate. Now I've heated up the juice. It's not as sweet as it was last year. I'm a little bit disappointed. It seems a little bit watery. And I did it in the steam juicer last year too, so it's not the steam juicer. it's definitely the apples. The apples tasted a little watery as well. So I thought about going ahead and spicing it up and making like a spiced mulled cider, but I'm not going to do that. I can do that per jar if I want to do it later, and then I have juice to use for other things if I want to do that as well. So I'm going to leave it as is. Now the jars are ready, so let's start bottling it up. I'm going to use something different. I love this thing. Lighting is just not good today. This is a stainless steel quart measuring thing that I actually use for the cows, but it's going to make this go a lot faster. Whew, look at that. I put a little bit of vinegar on here just to make sure there's no sweetness sticky on these lids. Alright, now these are going to go in the water bath canner, and I need to look it up how long they get processed. And that is my laundry timer, so I have to go down the hill. So, I'm going to put these in the water bath canner so they stay hot, but I won't turn it on until I get back up here because I never leave gas propane running when I'm not here. Now I always refer to my complete guide to home canning. You can see this is a well-loved book. Now I actually purchased this book because it has the spiral binding, but you can use this as a free download. You do not have to buy this book. So if you're just getting started, using the free download is perfectly fine. These are going to process for just 5 minutes, so not long at all. Is that a bee? That is a yellow jacket. I missed. Those darn yellow jackets found me even in here. I'm not safe. And if you don't know, I do have an allergy to bees. This is actually my EpiPen. This is actually my EpiPens right here. Because I did have a bad reaction to a bee sting one time. It was here on my head and my whole face swelled up, and so after that I'm a lot more careful. I'll be back with you in just a bit. Alright, now we're going to process this in the water bath canner for just 5 minutes once it comes to a full rolling boil, which shouldn't take long. I'm going to go ahead and drop these in. And then we add enough water that they're covered by at least 1 to 2 inches of water. And we're going to let this process. All right, this is done. So I'm going to turn that off. Now I lifted the jars, and I'm sorry you couldn't see that very good, could you? There you go. But I've still covered it with a towel, so the jars are lifted, but the cover's still on and I have a towel, and we just want them to get used to the temperatures out here. It's kind of cool today before we take them out. Oop, I already heard one sealing. So we're going to give those just 5 minutes, and then they're going to come out of the canner. Well, finally, this is done. This project took much longer than I expected it to, and didn't actually go the way I expected at all. I expected just to use the cider press, not to have to steam juice them, but now we know. Steam juicer is my preferred method. Well, friends, as always, I really appreciate you watching, especially to the very end. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, hit that button. I'd love you to be a part of the Kowalski Mountain family. Thanks so much. See you next time.